back, everyone. Welcome back, Sienna. So good to see you again.
Thank you.
For those who weren't with us earlier, Sienna was present for our mixed divination panel discussion, and now she's back and in the spotlight. So a little bit about Sienna. Sienna of Demure Life is a multi-dimensional healer, oracle, Reiki master, and teacher. Sienna has been practicing shamanism her entire life through her lineage and shares insight and offerings around the world. She spends her days creating incense and other smoke offerings alongside her husband and children. Demure Life is located in Chester, New York, and you can connect with her virtually on her website, Demure Life, if you want to learn more, and that's Lyfe.
Yes.
So everyone knows. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and your shop and all this cool stuff.
Thank you. So, my name's Sienna. I am a multi-dimensional shaman. I like to say that because I feel as though, we are all connected on multiple levels, connecting on multiple realities. Currently, it's always like healing one space to the next. So I like to use the word multidimensional. My shop is in Chester, New York. This is where I handcraft the majority of the products that I have here. I make handmade smoke offerings. I can take you for a quick walk around my store so you guys see. So let's see. This is my store. We have herbs, plants. I'm very planty. I'm a Virgo, so I like my greenery. I have crystals and hand wrapped sage. I create a lot of these that I see. I see like certain styles of sage, and I like to recreate them, by my own hands. So I have some more offerings, smoke offerings. This is something that I really enjoy sharing as it's a part of my culture. I'm Ramapo Lenape. From this area is indigenous. So I really step into that as, the shaman healer that I've been cultivating my work to become. Also, I'm studied as a traditional Yusui Shoden Reiki master. I studied with Juanita Martin, actually. She was my Reiki master. She is a very dear friend of mine, so shout out to Juanita. I know that you guys had her on earlier. So, she's an amazing, incredible healer. So shout out to her. I do tarot. I've been doing tarot pretty much my entire life as well. My mom, she was really into all things metaphysical. So, she kind of sprinkled that in my childhood and encouraged it and let it grow. So that's what I do. I share those things with like minds. It's actually in my chart that it says, it's like, you will connect very well to the fringe dwellers of society. And I'm like, what's that even mean? And I found out that it's like the weirdos. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm a weirdo and I connect with other weirdos. So there we go. So, hey weirdos. I love this. All things occult have always, kind of sparked my interest. And I don't like to usually say that, like, my shaman abilities are occult, are occult connected, because that is the way I was raised. So I don't teach that. I do everything else. I share everything else that I am publicly, but my shamanism, my energy magic and my lineage, that's for me and my children, and my family unit. And once they receive their powers, their energy and information from my lineage, then I may share it at some time. But as of right now, that's not in the plan. But I do, teach astrology. I teach tarot. I teach Reiki. I teach palmistry, Akashic records, phrenology. I like to share what I know. So thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. And wow, what a library of wisdom you are.
I always say that, like I started young. So, I started young. So, like, I've always had the attraction towards these things. So, I don't think that I don't like to say, oh, I know so much. It's just I've acquired a lot throughout the time that I've had, to do things. Like, I don't like to say it's like, oh, I know more. It's just I happen to know a bunch of different things because I put my time to there, and that's what I did over the years is I kind of been available for those things to come up and putting the time forward. But I think that anybody could learn anything, if they have the time to do it.
And if they listen, right? And if they
Yeah,
listen.
if it sparks your interest, go for it. I tell people all the time, it's like really important for you to listen to what your soul wants to manifest, what you find attractive, what you want to feel called to. And it doesn't hurt to research, to look those things up. If you feel connected to something, look it up, and then look to see a mentor that can put you in higher guidance of those things. Like I didn't learn all this by myself. Like I happened to follow up with people that were doing things that I was interested in, and following up with my elders, my ancestors, things that I do know, but then also really looking at like people that I thought were cool and doing the same thing, and higher mind, just being open to community. I think that that's a big part of why we all miss out on doing a lot of the things, is because we're afraid to step out and ask friendship and facilitating the community space, like, growing that with each other. That's why I enjoy you, Kai, so much, is because I see you, moving and shaking like, oh, I know this person. Let's get these people together. I love that. I think that that's so needed. And that's what the magical community should have,
It's all about manifesting too. You manifest your friends, you manifest your connections and your collaborations, and when we're in this space, we shouldn't feel, well, I don't, we're connected because of Juanita.
Right.
I think about her often. I remember sending her one message saying, Juanita, you need to hashtag I am Juanita. That is trending,
Right.
and then I'll send a message out. And there are so many different ways to have an exchange. In this world and in colonization, we're stuck in having to do an exchange of monetary exchanges. There might be something that you might need or want to know from me, or have a connection towards one of my friends that we can utilize as an exchange to further grow.
Right.
And when you were talking about finding, that thing that you like and that you love, that is part of manifestation, just to do the full circle, because you have to think it, visualize it, feel it, that it makes you happy, something that you really want to do, and then take action.
Right.
And then there goes your magic.
Right. I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I think that, like looking to, barter is the word that, is bartering energy. But at the same time, I like what you say there, but I have like a kind of like a oppositional view on that, in the sense like, not all exchange is equal. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not going to just take anybody's barter. Like I have to see how it feels within my spirit to see if it's of level of something that I'm going to exchange. So just because you offer that exchange doesn't mean that it's worthy of my exchange. So like, you can say, that doesn't really fit for me, or, like, but, or you could say, I appreciate the fact that you extended that offer to me. However, I declined, but it feels good to me for me to be able to share this information with you for free, and that I think that a lot of people look at too. Is because for me, there's a lot of times that people are like, oh, you know, hey, can I offer you? And it's like some random thing that I'm like, I wouldn't have bought that for myself, but I, you know, and then it's one of those things that, you know, I don't want to take it because it's not something I'm going to utilize, you know, but I will give the information anyway, because you know what? It's within me. And that person was brave enough to ask me and step forward and say, hey, I have this. I think that that's more of a like, hey, let me bring my energy to see if it's something that we can exchange, but it's also like, it's giving people their own understanding of their barometer of like what their own energy feels like, you know, like, well, you know, this probably is not an even exchange, but this is all I have to offer, you know, and then that'll give somebody even more confidence as to how to express and extend their energy, you know, like, so I think that it's important to feel that out, to see how you feel, you know, when receiving what people offer, because I don't take just any barter, but I do take barter because I do think that it's needed. But it's very particular too, because you don't want to just accept everything, you know.
No, because like they say, not all money is good money
Mm-hmm.
on top of that. And then sometimes with the hand that's giving you that money, you don't even want to touch it because of the
Mm-hmm.
energy. And that's why I try to stay away, even though the concept is bartering, I try to stay away from that and use an exchange.
Right.
Because it might not be an even exchange. It's almost like when you go to another country and you're trying to change that dollar, you notice that the value is different.
Right.
In some places it's more than, in some places less than. And for some things, like this is what I get from growing up. It was like, you know, you always look to be, because we're all leaders, we're all teachers. You look to see if, you know, are you a mentor? Because there are going to be those coming to you when you have a higher vibrational energy. And when they come to you, this is where you teach them about communication. This is where you teach them about boundaries. And this is where you teach them about that equal exchange. And okay, no, I'm not accepting what you're giving me right now. But however, because, you know, we have persistent energies, like I want you, I want you to, and this is all I have. Then you have to put them to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when they show, are they worthy of even a higher exchange? Because if you're not willing to put in the work, I'm not willing to give you that much of an exchange, because it took me a lot of work and discovery to get to where I am.
That part, that's a very, very good point. I think that that's a very good point. Is like, you know, you have to put people, not, I'm not saying like in the sense of like, oh, I'm above you and you have to work for me, not even that, but like like, to me, having people be able to show that they're able to do their own work, their own soul work, you know, they take the initiation into, um this is what I need for myself to expand, you know, and I feel like you can be a proponent, or, you know, a component to that. So, you know, or a catalyst to my expansion. Can I offer you? And then you give them something back, and then they take it to do. That just shows you that you're in a working exchange, and that person will grow with you just as much as you want to grow. They're trying to grow, you know, like, there's been a lot of opportunities, you know, and experiences that I've had where people, you know, ask me, you know, questions, and I'm like, well, you know, well, what's the exchange? You know, like, there's an exchange. And, you know, they'll come at me in rude ways, and they'll be like, well, how much do I have to pay you? And what do I have to do? And I'm like, it's not about the money. It's about what you feel here, and what you know here. You know, it's not about finance. It's about what you plan to do with the information. Like, what do you plan? Like, I know that you guys, as other oracles, you guys could confirm, like, people reaching out to you and being like, oh, can you tell me if they're cheating on me? And I'm like, really? This is not the type of reading I do, but, you know, is this really what you want here? Because I might play with you and tell you that it's, no, I won't do that. But, you know,
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And see, I'm a newbie in that area. I wouldn't do that. My thing would, I would turn it around to you. Why is it that you're coming to me to ask me that question?
I say that.
What is it that you're feeling that's bringing you here?
Mm-hmm.
To tap into my
Right.
wisdom and my experience to
Right.
answer this for you.
I say often when people ask me that question, the thing that I most say is like, oh, is this person the right person for me? When people ask me that question, what I always say is, if they were the right person, my opinion wouldn't matter. You wouldn't have even asked me. You wouldn't even ask me. I wouldn't have even been a thought on the table if you had knew in your soul that this person was the right person for you. That is the truth. And I'm saying that from personal wisdom, because I remember being young, and I'm not saying this is an age thing, because there's older people, that do the same thing, but um I remember being young in my work and being like, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend. Let me see how he's gonna do." And I would read my own cards and be like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend. This is my little friend. Let's see." And ask my other oracle friends, like, "Hey, girl, what you think?" And then I met my husband, and I'm like, "Oh, none of y'all matter. Nobody, nobody's."
When you know, you know.
And
when you know, you know.
And I knew, and that's what I'm saying is like, what I've realized throughout the work that I do is like the refinement process on yourself really refines the souls that gravitate towards you. So like I don't really work that out anymore. Like I don't have those issues as much as I did when I first started my business and growth and things like that. But there's definitely, like I always say, it's like, life is like a fun house. That's like one of my favorite things to say, is like, life is like a fun house full of mirrors. Like, you see people and they're all reflections of yourself, but they could be distorted, they could be in shape, but the thing is you recognize everybody's energy as your own. So like I do see, as I've grown, that like my energy is refined a bit, where I'm just like, okay, I understand that I don't attract this anymore. But there's those times that, like, that my past self presents itself to me, and it's like, oh, I remember when you thought this way. Okay, let's talk about it. And you have to kind of release that out in that energy exchange with the person. Like, and I always relay those information, that insight information that I have, that retrospective information, and then like I relate it to them, and they're like, oh my god, I really needed to hear that. So it's just about, I feel like, for me, it's about finding my authenticity and just admiring my journey through this process, because it's really about truth and just being honoring who you are and what you want to say.
And one more thing, I'm sorry, Chloe. I just wanted to tell her real quick. When you said when I was younger, we also need to realize in this realm, that we are magical beings and we have different sectors in which we are elders in that area. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to necessarily be an age. You are an elder because of your skill factor, and that the youngings that are coming in are youngings energetically, or youngings mentally, or
Right.
youngings spiritually. So thank you
Right.
for that.
Like I said, like I meet people that are older than me in years that ask those questions still, and like, or real, and I always kind of smile. I'm like, you too grown to be asking this. Like, and that's my human self saying that, but I'm just like, you are too grown to be asking me this. But then, like, I understand, just like you said, it's like, they're a child spirit, like, and they might be asking out of trauma, they might be asking out of naivety, like they might be asking for different reasons for that end result. But it's not up to me to judge it. It's up to me to decipher what I feel the exchange should be, like how they could hear it and what their message is. It's different every time. So, but I totally agree with that. I like that. I like what you said there.
I am cracking up in my head right now because I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm like, tell me, is this gonna work, Pendulum Cards? Let's talk about this. And I'm that person. But it's so true that, I mean, that's like my human self coming forward and insecurities and trauma, you know. But at the end of the day, what I've realized is that when it comes to those things, when we get in that space, whether we are, you know, using divination for ourselves to ask for those answers, or someone comes to us being like, is this relationship going to work? Will you pull a card for me? You know, oh, hi, friend. When they come, I've realized that sometimes we're going to get some BS answers because spirit team, whomever, is going to be like, you don't need to be asking this. What can we tell her just to get her to be quiet and go away? Because we're not giving the answers because it's none of your business. This is your journey, and this is not the guidance that is in alignment to ask for right now. So, like, sometimes I'll use pendulum and it'll just stay still. Like, it's like, no, we're not talking to you about this.
Right.
What are you doing? Like, back up. No. And so I tell people, when people come to me asking those questions, I'll say, look, I'm happy to give you an answer. However, know that that answer is what you need to hear. It may not be the truth. It may not be what's actually in movement right now, but it's just what you need to hear. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You may have a different answer tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that, you know, like, there's the essence of, like, time. I think time is a huge catalyst here, when it comes, because I don't necessarily believe in the future, nor do I believe that there's anything but now. You know, like, there's multiple realities happening currently. You know, and there's, you know, it's based off of free will. It's based off of you know, having just inner authority of, like, going in a different way. You know, like, if I know something's going to happen, I'm going to change that reality by doing something else. You know, like, I think that you know, when people ask me questions, because I like to stay away from future topics, I like to stay within the now. I like to call myself, like, a present speaker instead of a future teller. You know, it's like, or fortune teller, is because I think that right now is really where the decision is made. And then, you know, like, the blueprint of reality is based, like, off of many different things that we could be doing, you know, like, so, you know, one reaction would get you this reaction, or, you know, like, I'll go over those timelines with you. But, like, for me to say yes or no, I don't ever give a yes or no, because I think that holds not only yourself accountable for if it's not in alignment. Like, you could tell somebody, oh yeah, if you go to this address tomorrow at this time, you're gonna have $1 million that's waiting for you there. And if they go and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna go at 3 minutes after that time, and that $1 million isn't waiting there for them, they're like, well, I was there, and I could be like, well, you were there 3 minutes later, you know, like, so, you know, it's very specific. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, what we do as oracles is just share our interpretation as to what we see for their reality. So I think that it's important for us to remind people that it's not, like, certain. You know, there's nothing that's certain in the world, you know. So just the fact of the matter is, like, people get stuck in the certainty. They really just want to hear what they want to hear. And if you want to hear that type of stuff, I'm not the reader. I'm not the one, you know. So I always like to say those things too.
Speaking of which, have you had any instances where you share, you know, your wisdom and people just are not able to receive it?
I haven't had that. I haven't. But in my opinion, I think it's based off of the confidence of my delivery that, you know, like I am able to say something because I know it. You know, like when I know something, I'll tell it and I'll give it and I'll express it and I'll story tell it in such a way that you'll know that I'm telling you the truth, rather than being like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like I've never had that happen. Like I've never had anybody say, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I don't know what that means. Like I've never had that. Like I've always had somebody be like, well, I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, it's because of my confidence and my awareness and my gift. I think that that's, you know, you teach somebody something from a perspective that you know it. So it's like, you know, I understand what I'm saying, so I'm able to convey it. And I think that, you know, like my personal gift, the way I'm able to express is I'm very good at hearing the language of the soul, and each soul is different. So every soul that I hear and I connect to, I'm able to talk to you the way that you would talk to you, or the way that you would hear yourself. So I speak on a one-on-one level. And it's like when I do groups, um, like I like to even break off and talk to people individually, you know, like, so I haven't had that because I do speak very one-on-one with people. Um, yeah. I think that's a good question though, because I think that it's interesting. I've seen that happen to other people. I think that usually happens with other people when they're not as, or when they're growing within the confidence of their gift. I don't want to say not as confidence, but when they're growing, I think that really people only question the confidence. They don't question the message.
Yeah, I'm in harmony with you, but then I'm
Mm-hmm.
also in contrast in the sense that you said something about that you're not that type of reader. And like I said, I come to this organically. What I can say to certain folks that come looking for me, because like I said, you have to come find me. I'm not going to come looking for you. Come and find me. And what you can be certain of is that you're not going to be in this form forever.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a form that you're supposed to contain the spirit for forever.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't know is the next. What will that be? Unless you're really in tune and tapped in with your ancestral energies, and you know that you call upon your ancestors. There are sometimes you said something about like yes and no. So like I'm in harmony with you, and then it's like in contrast because I was given the name Wake Up Coach. I wake you up and prepare you to wherever it is you want to go. And sometimes beings come to you and they need a yes or no. And
Mm-hmm.
you can usually go with the yes and no's with the positive and negative energies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you continue in this negative route, you will suffer XYZ, not specifically, but it'll be some kind of dis-ease or dysfunction or disconnect. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, it's like yeses and nos. But for everything else in the developmental part, in the growing, that's the unknown
Mm-hmm.
because the potential is huge. You know, when it's positivity and everything that surrounds love and growing, there's no ceiling on that.
Yeah.
The only thing that there's a ceiling on is the negativity because it's like you're burying yourself alive in this form and the next.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm in harmony with you when it comes to that. Like you really have to know yourself and who you work with. But then it goes back around in full circle about not all money is good money. You can't work with everybody. Not the exchange is not an equal exchange. And I've noticed me being and I say newbie, and I know Jasmine is gonna knock me out, my friend. But I say that, lovingly to myself because you really have to know like the waters that you're swimming in.
Right. Right. You absolutely. I think that to even step out to do this work, you have to know yourself pretty well. You know, like you can't just stand out and be like, "Oh, you know what? I've been reading some oracle cards for like 5 years now and I'm going to make a profession out of it." Like that's, you can't do that, but that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So, um I think that that's really important to, like, I like what you said is like, not all money is good money. That is truth. That is very true. And I'm very, very particular about the clients that I take on, like
with that same purpose. Is like, I don't just take everybody, and I don't just mentor everybody either, is because I make sure that we're in alignment. We're all in alignment. But what you're saying, like, I mean, to go back to what you were saying, like the yes and no aspect, like for me, I think that I see what you're saying. Like for me, I don't do the yes and no. Like as in like, no, you shouldn't do this, or no, yes, or, like these definitive things, is because I could say, yes, this would be a good idea if, because X, Y, and Z will happen, like I could say that. But like for me to say yes and put it in somebody's hand and say, this is my interpretation of what you should be doing, and give no insight, that's how I meant it. It's like, I don't want to just blindly lead people or blindly steer people away from things that they want to do. Like I could, if somebody says, hey, I want to quit my job and I want to be a rapper, and I'd be like, this is dumb, you're like 50 years old, like, and not thinking it would work for them. But you know what, that might be actually what they should be doing with their life, and that's what gives them the highest amount of joy. So I'm not going to say, yes, do this, because it's not a great idea in my 3D world. But I could say, well, you should try it because this, and this can happen attached to it. You might have some struggle, however, like, so that's how I meant it. It's like, having a tact, a way of being able to give the message without like attaching my belief system to it. Like I want to make sure that people are like, okay, this is what I look at, like this is how I see it. And it could change, it might not change, it might feel different. I just want people to feel very cemented within their own understanding of what they should be doing. And that's what I like teaching more. It's funny, is like I actually do less readings now and more coaching now, because I feel like it's past the time of doing readings. I think that it's really more time for people to have their self-sovereignty, like their own sovereignty and their own soul cleanup, like, and I want to teach people how I've done it and how it worked for me, but also put on their own intelligence, their own insight, so like the classes that I teach it in the form that I would teach, and then I allow them to, give information, and like it's not even on a graded system. It's like, show me what you got. Okay, I showed you how I do it, now you show me how you do it, and encourage or direct, like ask them why this fits for them, if this is something that I didn't teach but they're implementing into my work. Just following up, is because the thing is I think that we're all in a space right now where growing our own selves, and and being within a community is more important, rather than um getting your cards read is so common now that it's not sacred, and it's not that sacred practice anymore, where anybody could pick up a deck of cards and read out of the book. And I've actually seen some workers and give really great messages, but then they'll forget what the message is, and they'll be like on their lives fanning through the book, and trying to give information out of the book, and it's not necessarily coming from them either. That could work, but then that's also like anybody can do that. So there's, what's special about it anymore? I want to teach people how to get their own messages, because at the end of the day, it's you and you. And like I could just be the archetype of, like, yeah, this is somebody that you see it's worked for, but I don't want to be like the only person doing it, because then it's lonely. You know, like I don't want to do it by myself. So let's do it together.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up about the cards. And I think I get what you're saying, especially with magic being a lot less taboo now, really coming into the mainstream, especially on social media. You know, there's a huge surge on TikTok. I don't know about it personally, but I've heard things. I'm not on TikTok. I don't know, just for late night video scrolling. But yeah, so it's interesting. And I think really the key element that still keeps it special is the embodiment. Truly connecting with your team, with spirit, with source, you know, bringing the true oracle intuitive abilities that are present in us all, but that so many people are, you know, picking up the tools without that connection. So like, here's the tool and we can read from the guidebook all day, but then it's just a tool. It's just a thing, you know, and it's nice and it's pretty. But what makes it special is you and your connection. And that connection, I think, is what you're saying is present in your coaching and why you've really gravitated in that direction. Is you are in coaching, there's a lot more space to truly embody that essence, that being, that, you know, your ancestors, your lineage, your magic, rather than using a tool that someone else created as kind of the middleman.
Right. I agree. And that's my point is, you know, like I use a lot of like medicines, like a lot of scents, like Juju was saying earlier that there is the essential oils, like the scents and like those things to me, like really bring out, they manifest within my spirit for me to be able to tackle all my tasks and all my work, you know? So, you know, like even medicinal tools, you know, like things that I carry, like my rattles and things like that. Like I have this turtle shell rattle. This is from my tribe, and it really brings me back to who I am, you know? So like working with tools like that, you know, and things to that nature are more satisfying to me in my work now, that I get more messages from rather than opening up cards anymore, or you know, but I don't necessarily, like I don't want to come off like I'm saying like people that read cards or, you know, like, because I read cards still, but you know, like I feel like as you grow, the tools become less, you know, you don't use any more tools, or you use less tools because you become the tool, you know, like you and your own energy, you know. There is so many parts of us that are connected to the elements, you know, like water, we are connected deeply with water as an emotional tool. We have fire as passion within us. We have, you know, we are carbon, you know, so we are earth, and we take in breath as life, you know, so we are the wind. So all of these elements are all within us. So why do we need the tools to tap in, the physical tangible tools, you know, like, so that's what I'm gravitating more so towards, as I evolve in my work, is using less tools. And I love cards, like don't get me wrong, because I'm a big artist, like I love artistry and I love, you know, to create art myself, so I love, you know, pictures and stuff like that. And you know, that's how I started, you know, opening up my intuition, is by looking at imagery. I just feel like that there's more to it. And for me, as I grow, it's growing in that way. And I want to teach more people to do that, because that'll stay. And that's that's not within a trend. That's not trending. You know, like that's, you know, self-discovery unfortunately is not trending. You know, it's more of crystals, sage, tarot cards, you know, like all the things that you could go out and buy. So I think that when we find ourselves and utilize our elements, I think that that's how we grow.
I could talk to you about this all day. You know what I became present to as you kept talking is I really resonate with a lot of what you're saying on a personal practice level. But when it comes to interacting with other people, I've found that for a lot of people, it is necessary, people who haven't found that self-discovery. It's necessary as a teacher. For me, you know, what I want to do is to give people the tools to discover themselves, right? I'm just guiding you. Like I can't do it for you. You're the one doing it, but I can help you get there, and give you tools. And oftentimes I find that that's a lot easier received if I'm using the tools.
Right.
You know, because people, it's a different, we're here talking here rather than here. And oftentimes it's like, and I'm speaking purely in you know, business terms,
Yeah,
we're trying to talk here.
Yes.
So to use those tools, it helps put us in this space together until we can both be here. So using it as those stepping stones, which is what you were also mentioning, that it's kind of like you just outgrow them at a point. You
right.
are.
Right. I say there, and I think that that's really important too, is, you know, like, it's not that you, because you're 100% right in saying the fact that, like, you do need a tool at times to get the door open. You know, like, people are not going to understand that you're coming from this space, and, you know, you could be talking over somebody, you know, like, and that's not intentional. It's like you're not trying to, you know, talk over them or be condescending, or, you know, like, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying, but, you know, let me show you this little card that might, you know, like, that's not the energy that you're intending to come with. But at the same time, like, so I like that. And what I find myself doing is, like, when I go places or if people come into my store, I judge people on an individual basis on what I feel they can receive. So there's times that I won't even touch my cards with somebody. I won't touch them. And I'll, you know, give them a reading directly in front of me and, you know, just connect like that. Or there's times that, like, I'm like, oh, this person's really going to give me an issue if I don't have something tangible to show them in front of them. Because you're right, it's stair step talk, you know, like, you don't want to talk over somebody, but you have to present a piece so they can connect with you. They understand what you're saying. You don't want to make somebody feel like that they don't understand. So like, I use it in that way, you know, like, there's times that I don't use cards at all, and then there's times that I'm like, yep, this person, I'm gonna need to use my cards because they're gonna give me a problem, because they'll be like, oh, what the hell are they talking, you know, like, or you know, if I don't have my cards, you know, like, because sometimes, you know, in all honesty, I have to, you know, if I'm not here at my shop and I'm at home and I have to take a call, sometimes I might not have my cards, you know. So, like, something I might do is, you know, utilize other divination systems, you know, like my own hands. Like, I rub my hands and I watch my hands for messages. It's like messages pop up on my own palms, you know, like, so, you know, I think that when you get to a space of, like, being able to cultivate individual people for who they are and understanding, you know, like, where to propagate them, to put them, you know, like, okay, this person could receive this way, this person could receive this way, I could receive this way, you know. I think it's like a interpersonal thing. Like, you can understand people's personality. It's a personality thing too, if that makes sense.
Woo! An hour is not enough, I tell you. An hour is not enough. And here you have it, folks. Magic.
Yes.
Magic has steps. Magic has different tools. And there goes my magical child. And you have to know where you are. And this is Sienna's information. So let's reach out to her and learn some more steps and tools, because she's coming from the authentic steps. I put her in the hot seat for a second and I said, I had something in harmony with you and something in contrast. And she came back to the bite and said, you know what? It's not for me to do the work for you. It's for me to show you how to do your own work. So thank you so much, Sienna.
You guys have been so awesome in connecting today. I really, really appreciate you taking the opportunity to have me on. It's been so fun. I don't get to do things like this enough, so I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been awesome. And yeah, let's continue the conversation. We all have, we have our social media. Feel free, everyone, to continue the conversation in the Our Daily Magic group. And thanks again, Sienna, for joining us today. It's been beautiful, and thanks for sharing your shop with us.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And don't forget to vote.
Don't forget to
all
vote.
Of our beautiful viewers nominate Sienna for a magical recognition.
Yeah.
We have a lot to choose from, so whatever resonates with you.
Yes, and if you're on the broadcast page, all you got to do is scroll down and until you see that vote graphic, and just click there and go at it. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you after the break.
Take care. Have a great one.